think my biggest struggle with being triggered is feeling shame, because it just brings that feeling with it for a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And I think there's an element of unconscious, like, blame, because what happened to me wasn't my fault, but yet I'm still struggling with the behaviors that got created because of it.
Right.
Welcome to Trauma Recovery Out Loud, where we talk about where we've been, where we are, and where we're going in our trauma recovery journeys. Join us and get some insights and encouragement to keep going and keep growing. Let's go.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
We didn't really do a sound check, did we? La 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 la.
No, but it's good enough.
Yeah,
I can hear you guys just fine.
Good.
Yeah. So, welcome to the podcast. I'm Stephanie Dunham.
I'm Evelyn Mason.
I'm Richelle Knapp.
Yeah. Evelyn Mason always says that like she's introducing herself to a bunch of kids in homeschool.
Well, I have a lot of experience with that, so little throwback.
So all you listeners are, all you two listeners, kidding. All you listeners are homeschool kids, I guess.
Aw, you're my kids.
Yeah, so we're back to record on a very hot day in May.
Yep.
It was way up in the 90s today. We broke down and cracked open our windows and put the ACs in today to try to keep it from getting too crazy hot in our house.
Yeah.
Whew. It's tolerable. Let's just say that. Except for maybe Rochelle's room. She hasn't gotten her AC yet.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
It's coming though.
Yes.
The melting bun.
Hopefully she doesn't melt away. Yeah. So, we're picking up our third installment of Life Interrupted, where we're going to be talking about. Did you use what?
I did, but that's not the problem. Speaking of melting, I have a line here where my foundation is starting to already melt off.
Oh no, she's sweating.
Right. So it begins.
No, I did. Yes, I did wear the Super Stay, and it's working very well. Super Stay lipstick.
Not stain.
I said Super Stay.
Stay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I bought Richelle lipstick, Super Stay Revlon.
Yeah.
We're not shilling for it, but we like it here.
So far, so good.
Yeah. So you might want to consider powder too, just saying,
Yeah, well, yeah. I'm not used to melting, so. But yes.
This is more like podcast interrupted.
Podcast interrupted
for makeup.
Anyway,
makeup
back
tutorial. Pop up makeup tutorial.
Anyway, yeah. We might have a little animation for that. We'll see what happens. Anyway, so we're talking today about dissociation and triggers.
Yes.
Dissociation is really specifically mostly, I'm not sure 100%, but definitely mostly a cPTSD or PTSD phenomenon. And triggers, at least the way we're talking about triggers, I mean, people can get triggered whether they have trauma histories or not. I'm sure.
True.
But we're talking about cPTSD triggers related to trauma.
Yeah.
So I guess we should go ahead and define our terms, or should I do a recap?
Well, it seems appropriate to do a recap.
Recap alert! Recap alert! On the first one we watched, we talked about. Watch me hit a bad sector here.
What did we talk about?
Last week we talked anxiety.
Anxiety,
panic,
and catastrophizing.
And catastrophizing.
That was the first one, yep.
And weirdly, the catastrophic thinking video we put up on TikTok, all the social platforms, but specifically TikTok, we've gotten well over 900 views. And people are still liking it.
Yeah.
Weird. So weird. Anyway, so we talked about that on the first episode of this series, we just kind of went over what it's like to live with it, because it's pretty common for people like us.
Yeah.
And then last week we talked about depression. It was kind of a depressing episode, if you ask me.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
Kind of sad and dark, but it was
It
worth
felt
talking about.
A little sad, yeah.
Because, we do have hope. I mean, being depressed is about being hopeless and having despair mostly.
Yeah.
But we talked a lot about hope. So if you want to go back and watch that one, don't get too scared of it. It will be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the recap. Woohoo.
Well done. Well recapped.
Yeah. So maybe we should define our terms on what we mean by dissociation and triggering. So I could take the dissociation one if you guys want.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Because I had a lot of dissociation going on in my 20s. I had a good bit of dissociation today. I've been mostly shut down all day. Barely got anything done. So there is an altered state of mind that people can go into during trauma, during things like especially abuse when it's happening, especially specific kinds of abuse where you're not really present in what's happening.
Yeah.
You feel disconnected from your body. You feel maybe out of your body. Some people describe it as being in another part of the room. But it's a way that your brain protects itself, protects you from whatever it is that's happening in the moment.
Yeah.
Dissociation can happen later after the trauma's all over, especially if there's emotional triggering, flashbacks, like memory flooding, emotional flooding. If it becomes overwhelming because your body's so practiced at dissociating, it could happen.
Yeah.
Still. And it does happen a lot with people. So sometimes you'll just feel kind of spacey, kind of losing track of time, where you're at, who you're with. And yeah. So, and like I said, today was kind of a dissociative day for me. Some things happened yesterday that were kind of upsetting. And I woke up this morning physically not feeling well, like I had a headache. And there's something else going on. I woke up, I had woken up at 5 again. So I was tired. And my morning was long and slow, and it was getting hot.
Yeah.
And I had a hard time getting going today. It took me all the way till like 11 or 11:30 to even get on the uploading for today's episode that I had to upload today.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the afternoon was pretty much the same. I still feel kind of dissociated. Like I'm sitting here talking to you like normal, but I feel kind of spacey, not quite with it. So let's somebody define triggering, and then we can get into talking about each.
I'm trying to figure out how to describe it. I know what it feels like.
Yeah.
But putting it into words is kind of tough to do.
I think when I think about triggering, it's like there's a certain something that comes in through the senses. So it could be something that we see or smell or even taste, hear, feel, like maybe touch something or pick something up. And it's like a sudden flashback. It could be like an emotional flashback. It could be like a visual or a combination. Going back to some traumatic event. Maybe you haven't looked at it or haven't really dealt with it. And suddenly it's like it sort of hijacks. When I think about it, I think about like it hijacks my emotions when that happens.
Yeah.
Talk about like life interrupted. So you could just be going about your day and suddenly you hear something and it's like, now I'm back to being, 7 years old and being bullied, you know, and I'm like, but I'm at work, but those emotions and everything are a lot of times I think I don't even know what it is, like what it's just suddenly I feel weird or uncomfortable or even go right into dissociation.
Right. Yeah, and there's a lot of discomfort with triggering. Like when we say triggering, it's triggering an episode of something.
Yeah.
A flashback. And so flashback, it's not on our list to talk about, but it is kind of similar. So flashbacks are when suddenly you're taken, like Evelyn said, you're taken back to a time when something had happened, a memory in your mind. It's like you're there.
Yes.
And you're feeling it again, and you're that age again. Like it's like no time has passed.
Yeah,
right.
Pretty much.
So the sights, the sounds, the smells, the thoughts, the feelings can all bring on dissociation and flashbacks, emotional flooding, meltdowns, panic attacks, anxiety attacks, depression. I can bring all that on.
Yeah.
All of a sudden out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's not like you see it coming. It just happens in an instant, like it's a flash.
Yeah, it feels very like intense, just, and it's very momentary or very like quick, like Steph said. Sudden, I guess is a better way to put it. I feel triggered a good bit of the time, to be honest. And different, depending on what kind of trigger it is, I deal with them in different ways. I'm slowly learning to regulate myself better, but it's hard to do. Because I think there's an element of having been triggered for so long because I was numb for so long. I wasn't dealing with triggers at all. And now when one comes up, there's a lot of shame attached to that because of just refusing to deal with anything for such a long time. So, like, Saturday morning's a good example of that. We were in class, a martial arts class, and I could feel myself just getting triggered. And I was getting bombarded with triggers. It just kept hitting one after the other. And I'm trying to tell myself and create an idea that I'm safe, which is what my body and my nervous system needs. But that doesn't stop the triggers from happening. Yeah. I don't know yet how to like calm myself down yet. But
I think you do. I think you do. It's just not that fast.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the triggering, the dissociation requires self-awareness that it's happening, and then grounding techniques to bring you back to the present. So you do that. It may just not be as quick as you like.
Yeah, and I think I was going to say, darn it, I had something on my mind to say, and I can't remember what it was.
I don't know.
We're all over 50.
I cannot read your mind, Richelle. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
That's your job. You're supposed to read my mind, remember?
I'm totally out of that equation. That's their thing.
I think my biggest struggle is, and not to get too far ahead, but I think my biggest struggle with being triggered is feeling shame, because it just brings that feeling with it for a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And I think there's an element of unconscious, like, blame, because what happened to me wasn't my fault, but yet I'm still struggling with the behaviors that got created because of it.
Right.
And trying to take responsibility for that is tough. Like, it's definitely doable. I have done it to a point, but there's a struggle of, well, I don't know what I'm doing, or I feel stupid, or any number of thoughts can come into my mind. The next thought is, but you're responsible, but you shouldn't feel ashamed of yourself because you can't help it. It's just this, going through the going
and
through
all
these
it
these
all comes
ideas
through very quickly too.
Yes,
Rochelle's jumping ahead.
I'm trying not to.
I'm gonna use your jumping ahead moments for a purpose, so it's cool.
Okay.
I'm curious now.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Ev?
I was just, I was thinking about triggers, I finally learned to recognize that that's what was happening. I remember just initially going, why do I feel this way? Like, this is so weird. And then just trying to ignore it. But I'm really glad to know what it is, because usually it's this sudden, almost like a stab of pain or terror, or it can be so intense.
Yeah.
And to be able to go, oh, I'm being triggered. What do I need to do to deal with this?
Well, Yeah, but what is the problem with triggering? Because if it's just feelings you're having, whatever, you're just feeling like everybody else. But it seems like triggers are a problem for a reason. So what sort of problems do they bring on? Like what's happening as a result of triggers other than that you're feeling something? Like, is this a lead to aberrant behavior?
Oh, yeah. So if it was just, now I feel bad, but I can just continue on my day. But usually it's similar to what Richelle described, where for me, there's often shame involved. And if I'm not careful, I'm going down the shame spiral. And I start to think, I'm not good enough. Who do I think and it's usually like third person. So it's like, who do you think you are? And why do you think you can do this? And you're not any better than anybody else. Well, you're worse than everybody else. You shouldn't even be here. And if I start to actually go with that, then I start to go into aberrant behavior. So I have a tendency to numb, to escape, especially to hide, to isolate, to try to protect other people from me because I'm so bad, So it's not just I feel bad, but then I start acting as though what the trigger's telling me is true, unless I catch it in time.
Yeah, and if you have like a job, for example, and you start shame spiraling and you need to talk to somebody, that could create a problem for you because then you don't know, you get caught up, you don't know what to say, you're afraid to say things, which can create a problem in communication at work.
Yeah. And the problem with not dealing with it too, if I just try to power through it also, is I end up just sort of blurting out things, or it does become awkward, and that feeds that shame spiral. See, when you open your mouth, you just fill in the blank.
For me, I have a tendency to get really upset, cry. Crying has been like the one way I express myself.
If she's happy, she cries.
I got triggered once at work. I may have told this story before here on the podcast, but I got triggered once at work a long time ago when I got pulled into the manager's office with this other person who was complaining about how I was behaving when I would come over to their computer to help them because I was making a facial expression she was interpreting as me thinking that she was beneath me or something. And the only thing I could do because I was triggered was cry.
Yeah.
Now, I'm in a professional atmosphere. That's a problem.
Yeah.
If your manager's just trying to like nail down what's going on, they're not being mean to you in any way, they're not yelling at you, you're not actually in trouble, right? And you're sitting there crying in their office with this other person, like it's hard to accomplish anything in that specific instance. And I think he felt bad because I was crying. And I felt bad because I was crying. I felt shame about it because I'm like, why can't I control my tears?
Yeah. And that just makes it all worse.
Right. So, things being taken it to its logical conclusion could end up making a person do or say things they don't want to do.
Right.
Behave in ways they don't want to behave, shut down, isolate, like Evelyn said, isolate, seek, ways to numb out, which may or may not be helpful.
Yeah.
Especially if it's of the substance abuse situation or other kinds of, addiction type behaviors.
Yeah.
I think a lot of triggering leads to addiction, actually.
Yeah,
probably.
Especially if you're not aware of what's going on. Like you're just, thrill seeking because you want to feel something.
Yeah. Right. You want to feel better. You want to get rid of that awful feeling. What can I do? Eating's good. Let me eat a bunch of sugar or,
like today I got triggered yesterday by stuff that was going on and spent most of the day dissociated over it and just shut down and not wanting to do much, not being very productive. I didn't go to the gym today. I was planning on doing that. I did not do that. Numbing out, kind of buzzed out, if you will, just not mentally present in any significant way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
I don't have a job outside of this, so it's not really affecting anyone negatively. It's just affecting me.
Right.
Really. What time I get the podcast posted doesn't seem to matter a whole lot. So as long as it's not like 5 o'clock in the evening.
Right.
Yeah.
Anytime before noon seems fine. But there are circumstances where being triggered and being upset, like, would be a problem. Also in relationships.
Yes.
I think triggering is also really strongly manifested in relationships, especially if there's fighting going on.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Because of it.
Yeah. I find myself getting triggered, and I'm not super close to people I work with, but I do find myself getting triggered sometimes by things they say and how they act, and it's frustrating to say the least.
Well, yeah, you get triggered at work a lot by customers, right?
Yeah, I mean, that is different because there's a certain type of customer that really triggers me, and I dealt with one. I had Friday, and this doesn't happen. It's a very rare occurrence. So I actually got yelled at by 3 customers through the course of my shift, which doesn't, it's usually like maybe once or twice a month. It's usually not that much. For some reason, it was 3 that day. By the time the third person and he wasn't yelling at me about anything particular. He was just he was telling me where his car was in relation to getting gas, because he didn't know what pump he was on. And I couldn't stop him and ask him anything. He just kept talking. And he kept yelling at me as he was talking and getting more and more agitated. And just completely unreasonable.
Now, I know you've talked about this before in other episodes. What does that remind you of? Why is that triggering? Why is it bringing it back, causing flashbacks and other things?
I would venture to guess probably our mother, because she at her absolute worst, and sometimes not even at her absolute worst, was just completely unreasonable.
And yelling.
There was no talking to her with any kind of common sense. Very, very rarely.
Yeah.
And even if there was any momentary common sense, it was quickly gone with the next mood.
Yeah, and that's the thing about triggering. There is something that happened.
Right.
Yeah.
That, brings on flashbacks. I think we should add flashbacks to the title, because we're bringing flashbacks up.
Yeah, because it's connected.
Yeah, flashbacks and dissociation, all the other things. It reminds you so strong, because your mind is already on high alert pretty much all the time, right? So when something happens that's very similar to things that happened in the past that were dangerous, your brain immediately jumps to danger, danger, danger.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh no, it's happening again.
It's happening again.
Protect,
run, fight, freeze, fawn.
Yeah.
Your brain is like on the inside.
Yeah.
We're adults and we're like, heart's pounding, mind's racing, customer yelling, we're trying to do our job. We're trying to interact with people.
Yeah. It could be especially bad if you're talking to somebody. I've had that where I'm at work and I'm trying to talk to, say, my supervisor, and all of a sudden something will trigger inside, maybe just something. A lot of times it's just a thought that'll pop into my head or something. And I'm like, oh, great.
Yeah. And that could lead to a cascade of things happening.
Yeah.
The thought itself could trigger a cascade of things happening inside of you that all relate to the fight, flight, freeze, fawn syndrome.
And all of a sudden it's just like, what do I do with this?
Now you're like, your boss is asking you a question. Your mind goes blank. You can't answer the question. You forgot what she said. Right.
Yeah.
And that's what's going on in the head.
And it's, I'm like, but And you don't want to draw attention to yourself. You don't really want her to have to ask if you're okay. You want to
Right.
you want to think that you can just keep it all contained. But I think a lot of times it spills out, you know.
Yeah, I mean, people pick up on that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Especially if it happens more than once.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, like, if I'm around someone and they do something once, I'll be like, But then if it happens again and again and again, I'd be like, okay, there's a pattern.
There's a pattern. Yeah.
Something's not right. So I imagine people are noticing those things about me if I'm in a situation where I'm getting triggered or I'm feeling a flashback or I'm dissociating or clearly upset, but I'm trying not to be upset. I'm going to give you a little story of something that happened to me once. I was probably 30 when this happened. So I hadn't done much work on what we're talking about on trauma recovery. I'd done some things up to that point, but not a lot. And I had auditioned to be in a play. It was a musical to our church. And there was a singing part that I wanted to be in. There was like a chorus portion. Like, I think it was right like at the beginning of this play. And when we were practicing around the piano, the person that was directing would say, he said multiple times, you have to sing loudly. He didn't say it to me specifically. He just said it, right? And I think I'm singing loudly.
Yeah.
I've never been in a play like that before. I wouldn't know that I'm not singing loudly.
Right.
So after, I don't know, 3 or 4 practices, he pulls me into a separate room and he says to me, I'm going to have to ask you not to be part of that. You're not singing loudly enough.
Oof.
And I got very upset. And I just sat there like, on the inside, the urge to cry was really strong.
Yes.
And I could not respond to him.
Yeah.
I may have just nodded and took a minute after he walked out of the room. Now, funnily enough, later on when the production was over and he wrote a note to everybody that was in the play, he thanked me for my professionalism. I think he was referring to the fact that I didn't throw a fit or cry or make a scene when he told me I couldn't be a part of that specific song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Years later, I'm like, why didn't you ever pull me specifically aside and say to me specifically, if I was the one that wasn't singing loud enough, you need to, and then like coach me through it.
Yes. Right. Yes.
Right? Why didn't this person do that? He didn't do that. But the point is, I got triggered, emotionally triggered, because I was being rejected.
Yeah.
And it was a small thing, but it still felt huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like every other time in my childhood and in my early adulthood when people would reject me for one reason or another, I was having that moment. Now, probably how I was feeling was a bit of an overreaction to what was happening, right? I still think the guy was wrong for how he handled it.
Yeah, I mean,
definitely.
having been a director of music before, I can tell you that you work with the person. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Give them an opportunity, like take them aside and talk to them. However, the strength of my emotions at the feelings of rejection that I had were so strong. I'm feeling like there was a little bit of an overreaction.
Yeah.
So, that's one of those like hugely triggering moments that I still go back to. That was it's like over 20 years ago.
Yeah. As you were talking about that, I was remembering actually a similar experience. So when I was in college, I wanted to be part of, there was a choir, freshman choir. Anybody could be a part of it. I joined. You didn't even have to audition. I had a blast. It was amazing. And so I thought, well, I want to do this again. Well, I wasn't a freshman anymore. Then I became a sophomore. And I was like looking into, well, what choir, chorus, whatever could I join? So I found one, worked with my schedule, and it was an audition thing. And I thought, well, I've auditioned a lot of times before. It'll be fine. I sang at a singing group. I stood in front of people almost every week singing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm standing outside the door, and you're supposed to have a prepared song, but also be prepared that they're going to have you sing, something, do some sight reading and whatnot. Yeah. So I got in there, and as it was beginning, I started to feel fear grip me. Now, when I'm afraid, it's like my voice just squeezes down into nothing almost. Or I try to sing, but it's not going to sound good. It's like, it's kind of like, I was thinking about like the air in a balloon, because it's just squeezing out. Yeah. And I totally bombed the audition.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question, because someone without PTSD or cPTSD could look at the same scenario and say, well, yeah, I was nervous too, and that happened to me. What makes it different for you versus someone who's just nervous about an audition? How is your triggering different?
Yeah. Well, at first, it was I think it was the intensity of it. Mm-hmm. And when I was actually trying to do what they were asking me to do, it was like I was trying to go through this weird fog, and like I think now that I was at some level of a panic attack. Try to sing through a panic attack. And then I got out of the room and I was like, what even happened?
Right.
But I had bombed a couple of auditions before, but this was just so intense. And then I didn't even try again. And I feel really sad about that, because I love to sing in a choir, like just, 100 and some people around you, and you're just part of this voice, this beautiful harmony. And I can look back to my freshman year, but that experience was so intense with the audition and bombing it, and I didn't even try again. Yeah. I was just thinking about in class, I get triggered quite a bit. And part of the problem, or part of the thing, is I want to do it right in the first place, but I think what I'm afraid of is the triggering is going to cause me to do it wrong, because I'm struggling with my emotions. And you're talking about bombing out on an audition. So I face that a lot. Like, I'm worried about messing up, and then I mess up. That kind of thing happens really frequently. And then I'm, kind of berating myself for messing up. So it becomes this vicious cycle of just shame and feeling frustrated, and, trying to break that cycle is hard to do. Because I'm also trying to break out of coddling myself or doing what I want to do to make myself feel safer. I'm trying to break that habit as well, which is also difficult to do, because it's the first thing my brain goes to is, I need to be safe. Something bad's happening. I need to be safe.
Yeah. And I think maybe the shame component might be one of the major differences between nervousness for something that you might eventually get over and just feel comfortable versus this sort of like, I think it's really hard for people like us to find ways to be comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if we're okay with what's happening, I rarely feel totally comfortable. Like I rarely feel relaxed in the situation.
Right.
But also the shame thing, I think, is one of the major components that really makes a difference. And, you may never try it again.
Right. Yeah.
That's a major, huge, difference, I think, and it's not because you think you don't have the talent or because you don't have the talent. It's because you are too afraid to be seen a certain way, or be seen as a failure. Most people think that way in this sort of setting. You're not good enough. That's major shame messaging. You're not good enough.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So what? Yeah. It's like so why even try? I don't want to put myself through that again. It's not worth it. As opposed to, why did that happen? What could I do differently so I could try out again? You know?
Right.
But I didn't have any of that. I was probably, 20 maybe? So it was just this big, awful, I don't know what to do with this. So I'm just going to avoid putting myself into anything similar to this again.
To try out for something like a choir where you have to do an audition, if you are, if you're just having normal nervousness, you may be willing to try again sooner.
Yeah, because it really wasn't that big a deal, right?
Right. You might be willing to, go again the following year, or maybe ask if you, bomb it the first 15 minutes and ask if you could do it some more, like try again. Yeah. You might do that. But someone with cPTSD, that's not even really a thing unless you've been practicing it for a long time, unless you've been going through therapy for a long time, unless you've been training yourself to behave that way long enough. It's not, you're supposed to learn all this stuff when you're a kid.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you didn't learn it as a kid, you have to learn it as an adult, and it's way harder to do.
Yeah.
So that means you may never go back for an audition.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, years later, I mean, we're talking, so I was 20, we were talking about 6 or 7 years ago now. So I was right around 50. I had the opportunity to be in a community musical. And I remember we were all supposed, it was a Christmas one. So we were all supposed to prepare a Christmas song. And so I had, my favorite Christmas song is I Wonder as I Wander, if you're familiar with that one.
Yes.
And so I got, it's not like the most popular one out there. So when I got in there to audition, I had sung it hundreds of times probably. I was just walking around, I wonder as I wander, and I got in there to audition, and I told the pianist the song I wanted to do, and he goes, I don't know that one. And I just went, I'll just sing it. It was such a different experience, but and I was glad. It felt redemptive because I just belted that thing out, and I felt like there was something about that moment when they were like, okay, that was good, that it felt like it was undoing some of that shame. And I believe now, as I look back on it, God was prompting me to just go ahead and try, and he really helped me. Yeah. And, at that point I had done some therapy, but I also realized that, actually, I didn't realize anything. I was just doing this, and I thought, what? I thought I was at the point where I thought, okay, I've got nothing to lose. Let me just try it, see what happens. And it was a completely different experience. But I think that was a gift from God. And because it could have happened again,
Right.
I would get very nervous and then not be able to sing, and and to reinforce that.
Well, let's move on to flashbacks. We can talk about dissociation, I think, last.
Okay.
We didn't really plan for flashbacks, but it's come up a few times now because it is kind of similar to it happens when you get triggered. It's kind of similar to dissociation. I first experienced flashbacks at age 19 when my boyfriend at the time / eventual ex-husband and I had bedroom times. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
I started experiencing flashbacks. I didn't know what was happening. And he asked me a question. And when he asked me that question, all of a sudden what was happening made sense. But that kept up for some time. It was like a good year. I started in therapy pretty quickly after that. The therapist I had, I didn't have her for very long. And then I joined a support group in a women's shelter. I was in there for a good couple of years, actually, in that particular group. And that group had a volunteer therapist from the VA that would come like once a week and do therapy for people there. And I took it up. I was like, I'm doing that. So that kept up for a while. And the flashbacks were like, literally felt like I was 5 years old or 6 years old or 7 years old. And I was scared and I was behaving. I was like caught in this sort of, I'm not even sure, the altered state of mind where I literally thought I was 5 years old and things were happening to me and I was experiencing it again. And that was pretty weird. Like I would be kind of aware of what was happening, but at the same time, just not able to communicate and not able to articulate anything. I couldn't tell my ex what was happening at the time. Until after the fact, way later, when I was calmer and more focused and more present. But it was like being shut down. And flashbacks these days tend to be more like an emotional, sudden, like a sudden flood of thoughts and feelings. Just something is reminding me, like, I don't know, when Richelle and I were recording our 4-part series on being our mother's daughters, she reminded me that our mother was trying to make me into the perfect daughter. There was some flashback going on while we were talking about it, and later when I was thinking about it, it was like all these memories just suddenly came up, and the feelings that came with those memories, just like all at once, like really strong, flooding, overly emotional, triggering. There may have been some dissociating going on. I'm not really sure, but I'm still feeling it to a degree. I don't get lost in memories like I did early on anymore, but it doesn't mean I don't experience flashbacking.
I think a few weeks ago I found out that, this is a little quick aside, apparently in perimenopause your skin is quite itchy frequently, and for some reason at night it's your legs and your legs and your feet itch a lot. And I was in my room. I was in my room. I was having a terrible time with my feet, and my legs were just itching, and I was so frustrated just talking to myself about it. And Stephanie texted me. She's like, I hear you talking to yourself. And then as I'm telling her, and I'm a little ashamed of myself, I'm like, that was completely 100% a flashback. Because when I was to the point where I was so frustrated as a kid that I couldn't do anything else, that's what I would do. I would escape by talking to myself. I was trying to escape that pain. I was trying to take myself, because my legs and feet were burning. They were hurting and itching so badly. And I was trying to take myself out of that moment, because it felt like punishment at that time.
Well, the thing is that I was in the hallway. I forget why I was in the hallway.
You asked me a question about an ice pack or something.
Yeah, I was in the hallway. Well, before I asked you a question about the ice pack, I was in the hallway, and it sounded like you were talking to someone. You were still awake when you normally would be asleep. And I was like, who is she talking to?
Myself. In a conversation about my legs hurting and itching so badly.
I was asking Fran for something, and I was like, well, I'm going to ask Richelle. And she goes, she's asleep. I said, no, she's in there talking. So I tapped on your door. I asked you whatever the question was. And then I asked you later what was going on. Like, who are you talking to?
I have to really think about that, because, like, it doesn't Go ahead.
I was just saying, and then you told me your legs are itching, and I was like, so you're having a full-on conversation with yourself about it?
I was.
Like, it didn't make any sense.
It kind of shook me out of what I was doing when you asked me that. It's kind of a trigger in reverse. It was like, oh yeah, this is kind of weird. Why am I doing this? And it felt like escapism.
I'm going to tell you something, Richelle, that came to mind when we were talking about this. I don't know if you're going to remember this, but a long, long time ago, probably 15 years ago, there were a couple of times where you were at the Walmart with your ex and you were sitting on a bench. I think I was there for one of these. And you were gone, mentally gone. You were not present.
One of those, yeah.
And you would get up and walk off. And you were just not aware of what was going on. And like, because I was trying to like snap you out of it. And like, what's going on, Richelle? And you just would not. Was that a flashback type of situation?
I think that was all the way to regression. It was pretty extreme.
Yeah. And
this itching and burning thing, here's the thing for me, and I have kind of learned this recently, and it sounds terrible to say it out loud, but when something is in my physically with my body is beyond my control, like I've tried so many things and nothing is helping, I get desperate. Especially if I want to go to sleep, I need to calm down. I can't calm down. I'm starting to panic. And that's how I just take myself out of it by talking to myself. I might be venting my frustration to myself. I might be trying to think of something completely different. But I'm not sure if it's good or bad what I'm doing, honestly.
Well, let me ask you a question, because people talk to themselves all the time.
Yeah.
It's not abnormal to do that. What makes your talking different? How, like in a sense of a flashback, how is it different?
In that situation specifically, pain was occurring. And for me, pain means danger still, even though I've done a lot of work to deal with that. At this most deepest essence, pain still means danger in my mind. It's still a trigger for me. And when I can't stop it and I can't control it, I get freaked out. In that situation, I couldn't stop or control what was happening. My legs were just burning and itching and so painful, and like I couldn't stop it.
Yeah. So how is that different than just having pain and being upset about it? How is that a flashback?
Because it was taking me back to when things were out of control for me as a kid.
Okay. So you're regressing into a time where you felt pain and couldn't do anything about it.
Right.
Usually as a result of something physical, like abuse.
Right.
Not always, but
yeah.
So that's the connection, that excuse me, that I'm looking for, that makes it different than just talking to yourself, because people do that all the time.
I talk to myself to keep my mind straight, because I'm dissociated frequently enough where I know if I don't talk to myself, I'm going to lose track of what I'm doing.
And a lot of people do that, and I wouldn't call that abnormal.
Right.
The full-on conversation you were having with yourself because your legs are itching is a bit more abnormal.
Yeah.
But it serves a function because of your trauma.
Yeah.
Right? Sorry, I got to clear my throat. The frog's here.
The frog.
Trying to drink my water.
Oh, water break.
Water break.
Yes, normalize drinking water during a podcast. Especially in ridiculous heat.
Yes.
As we were talking about, flashbacks. I remember a few years ago, I came across a school picture. So I was born in 1968, so it was early 1970s. There's this picture of me in a class of about 30 kids, teachers standing off to the side. There's the American flag, and I did what I usually do when I see a class picture. I look for myself. And I found this little happy girl sitting right, I think it was either first or second row, like right there. And I'm looking at this picture. And normally when I look at my class pictures, I have like happy memories or whatever. But this picture was different. I looked at that little girl. And as I did, I had this, it was flashback, really. I was back in the classroom, getting in trouble and getting humiliated by my teacher. And it was intense. I can picture it now. I was in front of the class, in front of everybody, and she was making an example of me. I had pushed her buttons all the way to this. And just the intensity of it. I'm sitting here holding this picture, and I didn't know what to do with that because it was so intense. And I talked with my therapist about it. We worked through it later, but I was there. I was experiencing it. I hadn't thought about it in years. I guess previously it had been at least probably 10, 15 years where I would just sort of think about it like, oh yeah, that happened. That's a shame that happened. But it wasn't the same as that. I'm 6 years old in first grade. And, it was intense. And I was that little girl again.
I think sometimes what we can see happening with you, Evelyn, is there's certain moments in the dojo, for example, where I might say something a certain way and you'll get triggered. And then I can see in your eyes that you're going back to this one particular moment, not that one that you just talked about, but another one that you've talked about with me before anyway. And then after that, you have a hard time focusing. You have a hard time learning. Because you're drawn back to that moment where you felt embarrassed and ashamed, and now you're not even in the room.
Yeah.
You're back at that moment in time. And so your goals of, and if this, if it happens once, that's one thing. If it happens frequently enough, it becomes a problem. Like if you're there to learn and you're constantly getting triggered by the same thing over and over again, that's going to cause problems for your ability to learn and to grow in that setting. So I think what we're getting at is any of these things can create problems because, maybe you don't have trauma and you go to class and your teacher calls you out on something, you feel embarrassed for a few minutes and then you get over it and move on. Without help, we don't move on.
Right. Yes. And
we might not come back.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And sometimes it takes somebody else to go, hey, are you okay? Because I know Steph, I would be so like gone. And she would go, Evelyn, do you need Evelyn, to take a minute? Right? Are you okay? And I would be like, oh, yeah, no. And I would have to go excuse myself, go off the mats and whatever. Because I didn't, earlier on, I didn't really know that that's what was happening. I was just over here, Yeah. But I think realizing that that's a thing, that it can happen, and to have a plan.
Yeah, and I think, because I have a kind of a unique perspective, because I get triggered and I have flashbacks and I dissociate. But also, I'm on the other side of that, watching it happening in the context of the dojo when I'm teaching. So I see people's minds start to, I can tell when Richelle's struggling with flashbacks and dissociating, especially during weapons training. Like it almost inevitably happens then.
Yeah.
And on Saturday this past week, it was happening again, but not for weapons. It was for a different reason. So from my perspective as a teacher, when I encounter something like that, I have to choose to pull back and regroup and say what's going on, because I know, having tried to help the person push through, it doesn't really work.
Right.
Things just actually get worse when you're trying to push through something like that.
Yeah.
Because pushing through isn't the answer. Grounding and reorienting and coming back to the present is what's needed for the person who's gotten triggered, who's in the flashback, who's dissociating. Yeah. And so from my perspective as a teacher, if this is a thing that's going to happen fairly frequently in class, I have to keep an eye out for it. I have to help the person come back to the moment, take a moment to go sit down, get yourself together. Or maybe they need to leave. But I'm going to encourage them to come back. Do not drag yourself down about this.
Yeah.
It happens, but it is limiting if someone is struggling this way, it is limiting in how much I can actually help them.
Yeah. I think when I think about getting triggered in class, I feel like it's the best place for me to learn in real time how to handle the triggers, because they do occur at work, but I've kind of trained myself to handle them at work as I have to. It's a very fast-paced environment. And there's still not a whole lot of space to... It definitely certainly gives grace to us when we struggle, but there's not a whole lot of space to figure things out in a detailed way. I have to kind of...
Yeah, I'm thinking about, like, if I was in a dojo and the person didn't know about my history and I was repeatedly getting triggered.
Yeah.
And therefore not learning and growing and progressing.
Yeah.
And they would get frustrated with me about that.
Yeah.
And pull me aside and say, hey, look, I don't know what's going on, but I'm trying to help you. And you don't seem to be getting it.
Yeah.
That would create such a huge problem for me.
Yeah. It would make me not want to come back.
If that was happening, I would get scared and want to leave.
Yeah.
Or I'd have to spill my entire history, and nobody likes to be trauma dumped on.
Right.
Yeah.
Or, any number of things. Right? So you lucked out, Richelle. You have a trauma-informed sensei.
There's also my sister, so that kind of helps too.
That kind of helps.
Yes. And I'm also so glad to be able to, take classes with Stephanie Sensei, and she understands, she gets it, Yeah, and even with my sensei, sometimes I'll tell him, I'm struggling with some things tonight or something, because he doesn't really understand, but he can go, okay, that'll help him to be prepared at least. So when
he's gotten used to us.
He has, yeah, because Steph, has known him for years as well. So he's understanding in that sense. He's kind.
I would hope that even if someone doesn't know your history, if you just say, hey, and you're not related to them, they're not trauma informed.
You're not friends. You're not related to each other.
Yes. It was just, a run-of-the-mill dojo with a sensei or whatever. I would hope that they would just be, okay, just do the best you can. That kind of thing.
I think most people would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what my point is that if I wasn't communicating with them and I was just spinning my wheels, eventually that would lead to someone saying something, if they're a good enough teacher.
Yeah. True. I mean, especially if you're, like we talked about before, where you're like dissociating and you can't seem to communicate to them. They're having trouble communicating with you. They don't know what's going on,
that actually happened to me when I briefly, I don't know if you guys remember this. I went to another martial arts school to learn, quote unquote, I guess MMA style fighting from a woman.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yep.
And I could not get into the rolling when they were doing the jiu-jitsu stuff. I just stepped back. I was getting triggered a lot being in the class. People were weird. They're sort of worshiping her. And I was getting triggered all over the place. I didn't realize it at the time, but then I got kicked out. They didn't like me, I think. And then I got kicked out because they showed me this super complicated technique that required me to have skills I didn't have. And while I was doing this on this woman's shoulder, she said, ow. And I got yelled at. And then I got kicked out that night.
Yeah, I remember that.
Wow.
Again, another situation where they're not taking the blame. They're putting it all on me. They're giving me complicated jiu-jitsu stuff to do. And I don't know what I'm doing. Like,
right.
Why are we doing these complicated routines and then blaming me because I didn't know enough information to know what I was doing?
Right.
And then I sort of fell a little bit while I had this woman's arms locked through my legs. I was losing my balance. And then she said, ow. She said, I'm not hurt.
Okay.
But they were really offended by it. But the point is that they were triggering me all over the place.
Right.
This group. And I'm actually glad that they kicked me out.
Yeah.
I mean,
But I did cry on the way home from that. And I think I
that's
might have
totally
called
understandable.
my husband. I told my teacher at the time about it. And he's like, oh, so they don't know how to teach people. I was like, I didn't understand his remark. Like, he didn't say anything to me about me. He said something about them. And he said that twice. And I was like, I guess that's true. I don't know. I would say now that I recognize, looking back at that time, they didn't know how to teach people.
Yeah. Yeah, but in the moment,
too much cult worship going on with the woman that was running the place.
It just sounds really weird. Like you just stepped into a really weird situation, and with the cPTSD and then getting triggered, it just made the whole thing that much worse.
Yeah. So we do have, it's already one hour. We haven't talked much about dissociation, so we should probably go ahead and move on to that. What's that like, living with that?
You did just kind of describe it earlier.
Oh, yeah, a little bit. But
the way I would describe it is feeling like disconnected, kind of really out of it. Just feeling, I kind of feel that way right now. Just feeling like...
What? Richelle's doing dissociation live?
Whoa. Live dissociation.
Here's our example.
So
she looks totally,
Richelle?
She looks
what
totally
are you experiencing?
normal.
I was
what
making
does it
a joke
feel
because
like?
I'm tired. Shocker right now.
We're making a joke too.
We're just rolling with this.
Anyways, but you feel out of it. You feel disconnected from everything. Your thoughts can feel heavy, I guess, or confusing. Mine feel confusing a lot of the time when I'm dissociating. And at the worst of it, I would say you're sort of in a different place subconsciously. Your state of mind is definitely altered, and you're not really often understanding what's happening around you.
Yeah.
And it can make things dangerous. I mean, I've seen it happen, and it's happened to me where I felt like this could be dangerous.
I tend to dissociate when I'm really, really stressed. Or there's a lot of high anxiety about something.
They say it's your brain's way of protecting you in some fashion, but I don't know what it is.
Well, yeah, because if you're experiencing a flashback, like you're 5 years old and you're back in the classroom being humiliated.
Right.
If you're experiencing that and the feelings are all there and it's like it's happening right now, dissociating makes sense in the present.
Yeah.
True.
Because it's a way that you can not feel it as intensely. It just becomes, I know for me, it's like this intense fog-like feeling. Yeah. I can almost visualize it. Like, I feel like whatever's going on around me is beyond the fog, and I can't quite see through it. And what I'm experiencing is this, what feels like reality. Like, I remember one time Steph was, calling me out on something or something, in our friendship. And I felt this feeling of that I'm being rejected and I'm going to lose my friendship, and it's going to go all the way to she'll never want to see me again. That was like the trigger. And I went into this weird dissociative state where it's like I couldn't quite think straight. I wasn't quite sure where I was in the room. Wasn't quite sure what was going on. It was a way that the emotion was tempered a little, but then it was just weird. It just felt weird.
Yeah. I feel like dissociation is really kind of a shutdown state.
Definitely.
I mean, there's definitely like disconnection, and there may be other things going on, but it's really, you're just shut down. You're shutting down your connection to reality because you can't tolerate reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when it was the worst, when I had, and this is completely different situation, not with Steph, but my worst shutdown when I
I'm not always triggering Evelyn.
No. She has done me so much good. Let's not, I don't want anything to be skewed here. She's my bestie. But when it was really bad, at its worst, I had gone all the way to psychosis. And I was just shut down.
Mm-hmm.
I remember people talking to me, and I was just like monotone. And underneath, I had experienced such intense negative emotion that now I just felt just this sort of state of awful, and I'm not even connected to the world anymore. It was complete shutdown.
A couple of times when that happened to me, where I was completely shut down, I couldn't respond. I was just sitting there. At least 3 times that I can recall between ages, I'd say 24 and probably 40. That happened where I'm just not respond. I'm awake. My eyes are open. I'm just sitting. My roommate, when I was living with someone with my older son back in the mid 90s, came home to me just like sitting there, and I just wasn't responding to her at all. She ended up calling my pastor, and they didn't know what to do with me. But I was kind of like alert and aware of what was going on, but also unable to respond.
Yes.
And I think that is a definite highly dissociative state.
Yeah,
whatever that's called.
Like catatonic is what I keep thinking.
Almost.
I remember when I was at my just hours just staring.
That was like the
very
Walmart
aware, but unable to connect.
Yeah, and the times that happened, there was something very major that happened that I couldn't handle.
Yes. Yes.
The last time that it happened, I was at church. Gosh, it was so long ago. I was at church and something had happened, and I went into the state. I ended up on someone's couch for the afternoon, and I just kind of fell asleep. And then I woke up, and then I was okay. It was weird.
Yeah.
When I was in a mental health facility for 5 days, I feel like I was kind of there.
Yeah.
It was such a weird state. I was like what's happening? Why am I here? How did I get here? I actually drove there, and I have zero memory of it because I dissociated the whole drive.
Wow. Yeah.
And that was like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago now.
That's very scary when you dissociate while you're driving.
I know. Don't drive and dissociate.
Pull over.
Yeah. I've had to pull over a few times in sudden heavy dissociative states, just couldn't function. And that's what was happening at the Walmarts, although I think it went to the highest, if not the highest, definitely the highest, whatever that would be. I was all the way to regression. Like I couldn't get out of the state of mind I was in for a period. Yeah. And
you were a flight risk too, because you kept running off.
Yeah. I was aware of what I was doing, but I couldn't stop myself from doing it. Like I had no control over what was happening in my mind. And running away was because I think we had fought at the Walmart at least one of the time. And I just
not you and me, but you and your ex. Yeah.
And we had just fought, and like I was so already dealing with trauma and so out of my mind. Just from the stress of it.
Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of an overview of what dissociation is like. And if you actually experience it in your life, you may not even know it's happening.
Yeah.
You know, if you are experiencing dissociation, you should probably see a therapist or a psychiatrist and figure out why.
For sure.
Because it's a sign that something's going on in your mind that needs attention. Same thing with flashbacks and triggering. Emotional flooding, all of it. You need some kind of professional help because we need to know what it is. We need to know why it's there and what to do about it. And we're not equipped.
Right.
Yeah. Don't try to, I mean, I'm learning from my therapist and my sister how to handle these things, but don't try to do it on your own. It is not easy to navigate when your mind is being stretched. Yeah. These things will stretch it. Like, it's kind of, it's kind of routine for me to get triggered in class now. So I kind of expect it, but there are many, many times I did not expect it to happen. And was completely dissociated after. So I kind of have a game plan now if I had to handle it. I haven't developed well enough yet to be able to do it faster, but I think it's working, what I'm trying to do. Mm-hmm. And there's different types of dissociation in that sense. Like Steffi said, there's during weapons time, it's gotten a little bit better. On Tuesday nights, Saturday mornings are a little bit harder still right now.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why that is, but it's just how it's kind of played out. And I realized that I don't have much confidence in myself, which can cause a lot of triggering, which comes from trauma. Yeah. So that plays a big part of it in it as well.
And you're trying to do this really difficult martial art that requires skill.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And physical fitness.
And keep going and enjoying it.
And you're a female and you're middle-aged and.
There are a lot of factors here. I think it's good though, as we do get help from our therapist and we start to get some tools and then we use them and it's going to be hit and miss. Some days it's going to be hours. Some days it's going to be minutes. Some days it may be a couple of days. But as we keep going back, okay, what are some things that I know have worked in the past? Let me go ahead and try this. And it's hard because the triggers will hit immediately.
Yeah.
So that's where the self-awareness portion comes.
I got triggered in Japan in October.
Mm.
I think our first or second night in Kinagawa, where I broke down in the hallway crying.
Yeah, I think it was the second night.
By that time, I hadn't slept several nights in a row.
Yeah.
And I was so tired.
Yeah.
And was worried about not sleeping that night. And I said that I just started like crying in the hallway where Evelyn didn't know what to do with me. But I was like, my mind was like breaking with reality.
Yeah.
Because it was in a strange place in a foreign country. Trying to do everything everybody else was doing, trying to keep up and having serious doubts about that. And so I totally get how you're feeling, Richelle. It's a different context, but I've been where you're at.
Yeah.
And I do want to say that, Richelle specifically, that you are very brave for continuing to show up and try.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, you are.
Despite all of it.
It is the best therapy for me in that sense, because I can talk to my therapist, and I'm not saying my therapist is not helpful, because she certainly is. I can talk about it all day, but unless I actually go and practice it and figure it out on the fly, I'm never going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
And there and at work are the two main places that I can do that. Like it does have in my day-to-day life as well, but there's a certain amount of pressure in the class and a certain amount of pressure at work that creates an environment where I have to figure it out. It teaches me how to do that so that I'm not struggling for the rest of my life.
Yeah. So this is what it looks like to live your trauma recovery out loud, to recognize what's happening, put names to it, call it what it is, learn the skills to deal with it, and to keep growing and keep going.
What? Our little tagline?
What?
How appropriate.
Yeah. So shall I sum up, since it's 1 minute and 13 seconds?
Yes. 1
hour and 13 minutes.
1 hour. Oh my gosh. 1 hour. 1 hour. My glasses are upstairs. Okay.
Not as funny as boosting your mood, but it's still pretty funny.
I have my hands on my hips. Okay.
Oh, I can tell. You're like this.
It's coming through. Okay, so shall we?
Is your mood boosted?
Mood boosted, you mean?
Oh, did I say it wrong?
You said it right, but you said it wrong.
Right. Well, you meant to say it wrong.
Is your mood boosted? Are you happy now?
It is. Yes.
All right.
We needed that.
We talked about triggering, flashbacks, and dissociation.
Yes.
So triggering is when you have things that are happening, whether it's something you heard, smelled, saw, tasted, felt,
internal emotional,
remembered,
yeah,
whatever it is, it brings on a reaction.
Yeah.
And if you have trauma, if you have cPTSD, it's going to be a very specific kind of reaction to it. It's not going to be a normal reaction. It's going to be abnormal. It's going to be over the top.
Right.
It's going to be excessive. It's going to be not making any sense at all to the situation. It makes sense to the trauma, but not to the situation.
Right.
So triggering happens quite a lot for people like us, especially at the beginning of recovery when you're just getting used to the idea that you have triggering, and you need to practice what you do when you get triggered, and also trying to reduce the triggering over time.
Yeah.
Right.
Tolerating the memories and all the things better.
Yeah.
Then we talked about flashbacks, and flashbacks are sort of a regression into a memory of something that happened to you that was probably traumatic in some way, abusive or whatever. It can be like the first flashbacks I experienced where you're actually feeling like you're that age and you're experiencing that thing. Something happens to you that's very similar. Or it could be an emotional reaction. Like suddenly you're looking at a picture like Evelyn and you're having this intense emotional reaction similar to the one you had when the thing was happening.
Yeah.
There are probably other kinds of flashbacks, but I'm not aware of them. And finally, dissociation is more like losing track of where you are and what's going on. So you're in an altered state of mind. You may not be connected to reality. It's similar to flashbacks in some ways, but it's more about self-protection. Because flashbacks are more about remembering, whereas dissociation is about self-protection because something intense is happening and you're just shutting down.
Right.
And you can go all the way to being almost catatonic with it.
Yeah.
Or it may just be you feel kind of weird and spacey in the moment. It could be a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But it's a way that your brain helped you cope when this abuse was happening or when the traumatic event was happening.
Right.
And it can recur throughout your adult life if you experience something that was similar through triggering.
Right.
So did I get it all?
Yep.
Nicely
All right.
summed up.
Summation alert over. Yeah. So next week we're talking about what? Who knows what we're talking about?
I forgot to look at the list.
Oh no. Gotta check the list. All right, I'm checking the list. Although I don't have my glasses on. They're upstairs.
I don't know
Or I put my makeup on. Let's see.
Constant interruptions? No. Is that what it is? Is it
I don't
constant
think
interruptions?
so.
That doesn't seem right.
I don't think that's it.
Oh goodness. We'll try to be better prepared next time. Let's see.
Shame.
Oh,
Shame.
That's a big one. She's singing.
Anyways,
I think shame is the one thing we talk about the most.
Probably, yeah.
Just amongst the three of us.
Yeah,
for sure.
it's huge.
It's like the results of trauma, typically.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's just, aside from the other things we've talked about, it's usually, there's a huge amount of shame, toxic shame, about who you are.
Yes.
Right.
It's not about what you might have done. It's about who
you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your identity.
Yeah, for sure. Anyways.
Yeah. Oh,
Is it time?
I think so.
Okay. Let's do
Like,
it.
Share, subscribe, follow.
Push the
do
buttons.
all the things. Push all the buttons.
You know what to do.
You know what to do.
Sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring. Aw.
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 Sharing is caring.
Big heart animation right there, Steph.
Okay, I'll make sure it's a big heart animation. Yeah, so please share this with people. If you come across our clips on YouTube or
Yeah.
TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, share it. And we're doing this new thing, these 3-minute videos where there's a sort of story we're telling about something we actually experienced. I modified it so that you don't know who and when and where, but we're telling these stories because we want to give people hope.
But they're really good and really well done. Highly recommend.
We think they're good and we think they're well done, but they haven't gotten a lot of attention yet.
True. Okay. Gotcha.
Like I said, we got a lot of attention on the catastrophic thinking clip last week.
Yeah.
It's just all week long we kept getting notifications about it, and still getting notifications about it. But yeah, share this episode with someone you care about, because you know that they need to hear this. Don't be shy.
Yeah.
Don't be shy about it. Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. Do it. All right. Well, I think that's all we have for now. I'm Stephanie Dunham.
I'm Evelyn Mason.
I'm Richelle Knapp.
See ya.
Whatever. Bye.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you got some food for thought and encouragement to keep going and keep growing. See you next time. For more episodes, you can find us on Spotify and YouTube. Comment, like, and subscribe to spread the word and help the channel grow.